Now with Voluspa, it's interesting enough, the content, without going into various translations, different translations. But having just completed recording the Carolyne Larrington translation, I'm quite intrigued by the way it concludes. Now the Jackson Crawford translation, the witch is very, should we say, very polite in that it's just that, now I must retire. Which suggests to me that the witch has had enough, she's fulfilled her duty and is taking her leave. I mean, it's very, I don't know if it's an English thing where it's just that sort of, I don't know, very Pride and Prejudice or Downton Abbey. Now I must retire. It's too polite, I feel. It's just me, and I'm not arguing against the different translations, because with the Carolyne Larrington translation, for me, I very much see Voluspa, it's the witch is speaking, but she's speaking in third person. She's not in control. She doesn't want to be there. In the same way, like with both translations, it's the, do you want to know any more, Odin? Have you learned enough yet? The way the Carolyne Larrington translation ends is, now she will sink down. And it's not to say she isn't retiring, she hasn't had enough. It's more a case of, I'm done now. I'm done. I'm going. I must return to being dead, to be food for worms, whatever. You disturbed my rest, Odin. Now I must. It's not even referring to herself in first person. It's now she will sink down. Unless, of course, the way that the magic works in the process, that actually the voice of this is Odin's, and that he's using the witch as a focus. It's the whole sort of, he raises her up, and of course it's a corpse. You don't really get to learn too much about the state of the corpse, other than obviously in one section the witch says that Odin plies her with treasure adornments to make her perhaps more whole. I think that's got a little bit of room for how you choose to see it. But imagine that the corpse is so decayed that there are no vocal cords. I mean, we're dealing with magic, so there's nothing to say there isn't a magical voice, a magical energy. But what if the way this works is that Odin has to sort of reach in and binds or bonds to the witch, and it is his voice that narrates this, and he allows the witch to sort of have this link to him, an uncomfortable link, I should imagine, and I don't recall there being anything where the witch, it's referring to the witch looking at Odin. It's more this binding of the magic, and probably very unpleasantly for the witch to be sort of so naked to a god like Odin, that by the end it's just, now she will sink down. I can't do this anymore. I am done. I am done. And that the phrase, now she will sink down, feels very much more authentic than, now I must retire. It's just my opinion. It'd be interesting to see some other translations, just for those few words in itself and how Voluspa ends, I say there's that sort of, in my mind, I see this as perhaps being quite a draining process to do, where Odin perhaps has some conflict because obviously he already has some ideas about his fate and various other things, but subjects himself to this process. And like with many things, when you subject yourself to a process, you open yourself up to some things that you might not ordinarily want to. And I'm not putting limitations on what Odin can do. I wouldn't do that. But it's just those words really just, especially with the Carolyne Larrington translation, just sparked a little sort of wow sort of moment compared to the Crawford translation. And this is why I think it's really important to be able to look at alternate translations of these of the Old Norse, and that I am prepared to sort of take on board some things that I might not necessarily want to hear, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily wrong because I don't want to hear them. And say, now I must retire is very nice, it's very pleasant, it's very la-di-da. Now she will sink down. It's just magic coming to an end. The corpse that has been resurrected, or animated, I should say, is just going, because you can imagine the arcane energies that are holding the witch together for the process of the prophecy takes its toll on a corpse, and the sinking down during the process of Voluspa. If you was to, I don't know, animate or film an interpretation of it, that during the many verses of Voluspa, the witch is just decaying faster, or the more power that's focused through the corpse takes its toll until she cannot endure it any longer. The corpse is starting to break down, so that it's that sort of, once the prophecy is complete, it's the, now she will sink down into nothingness, into ash and decay, and I'm done. Yeah, it's really simple. 5 words to end Voluspa that just seem so powerful. So think about that, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks very much. Bye.